Duane, people talk about empowerment, empowerment in various ways, particularly for physical survival. I find that the wonderful worldwide educators through the new presentation what they are presenting is one of the most powerful, if not the most important, empowering message to the public, the dynamics of which and the dynamics and effects of which can only be imagined. So, can you elaborate a bit more on how much you have empowered those who are taking the time to listen to you?
Okay, well, that wasn't the intent, but the idea of empowered or whatever. Again, this is a marketing idea. That's not the idea. It's I just see it like the words that I use, and mainly I use real, like real guidance, real guides, real universes, real freedom, etc. That's the relationship there. Just giving the hint, but. I personally don't do anything. I'm just sharing my experiences, and if people are empowered by something, again, this is something they decide. I don't decide that. That's not my intent. My intent is just to share, and while I'm here, I make it an adventure. I make it fun, and with the images and what I say, etc. But other than that, no, I'm not a motivational speaker, even though people can be motivated, but again, that's not my intent at all. It's just something to share, something that makes sense. And so the world is looking at what it's doing. And, again, it's what I like about discovering this, aside from the new presentation and all that. Again, that's in the literal world. That's in creation. The reality of what life is just like the birds that live in the trees and fly around. They recognize how to live with their environment, and people do not. And so when these deceptive things have come about, yes, people have resisted, but then they've been forced into it. But then again, people always have a choice, and to where now people do not recognize how to live with their environment at all. They think they do, but they really don't. But then again, that's a choice, Charles. So there's the idea of it, and there's so much more.
There was an article from one of the new friends, and I don't know him. I just read the article. He was talking about the Saturn that is a big transmuter, and the taplining board's energy comes from that. I want you to explain about that. Is it correct or not? I don't know anything about it.
Well, that makes two of us, young man, because I really haven't looked at that. So again, I don't know everything. I know very little. I make sense of what's taking place, but when it comes to technical aspects, no, I don't know all those things because I don't study it. Just whether it comes from Saturn or whatever, we're all in the microwave network, and it really doesn't matter where it comes from. And again, these planets in this realm, in this galaxy, it's all controlled by those who have been here the longest, and they use technology to do it because it's all human farming. The bottom line is it's human farming. And so you can understand the technical aspects of it, but you're still in it. And this is where I suggest you learn to recognize the all is, because that's the only reality that you're going to be able to relate to, that's going to free yourself from all these restrictions. And in the meantime, we're going to be tortured by it because we have these bodies, but you're here to learn something, and so you decide. So you can know all the tech stuff in the world, and it'll equal nothing. But it's good to understand something that's going on. But when it comes to that, no, there's so many things on the moon and other planets and this planet can't keep up with it. And this is where people chase these ideas thinking that they know something. You know, after a while, you get the overall idea. Okay, so whether you know how your car works or not, or a spaceship or an airplane, it's the same basic idea. Overall, these are things that we don't need, but we do have them, and we have to deal with them. So again, fortunately, you have this now, the new you, the real guides are there to show you the bigger picture. So if you're interested in that, then you just look to the real side. Ask the boys. They'll show you certain things about those things that you want to know. Yeah, everybody wants to know what they want to know. So they're there for you. See what happens. Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, Duane, I would like to come back to your last comment about empowerment. Empowerment that you've carried out, that you are doing without consciously doing it. You're giving people the world over ideas and methods that have made them to step up, to face the challenges of life on this level, and to be more proactive. Take, for instance, people who were living under the shadow of the master, and with all the fears that were drummed into them, or about betraying the master. You should never leave the fold of the master, for then you will be lost and you will be tormented in the astral hells until he takes pity on you in another lifetime, and brings you back into the fold and lifts you up again. You see, all that has suddenly been washed away in the new nowness. And then take, for instance, again, your your enlightenment about what is taking place in the environment, in the all natural environment on this level of life. You see, at first, people could think that, oh, that was a topic for environmentalists. We're not very concerned. We're only doing our spiritual things, We're not concerned about that. We want to be God realized and all that. And it seems as if the all natural environment on all life levels was not important to people doing what was called spiritual work. But now you brought everything to the front. It is, in fact, the new man is addresses life as it is now. What is happening now is, is of concern to all of us, rather than people burying themselves in the sand and thinking that they are spiritual and that certain things don't really concern them, and that they are meant for some special category of people. That the message of the new man addresses life as it is now, not something that took place in the past. And if it is a gospel, the gospel is about life as it is happening, as it is breaking now. You see, so these are all aspects of empowerment, which well, it's not your overt intention to do that, but looking at it critically, one will realize that you've empowered a lot of persons. You've lifted them out of fear, out of inertia, you know, in the kind of inertia in which they found themselves because of lack of a real education, you see. So they unreal guidance, and then just imagine what you've also disclosed about the invisible realms of life. You know, well, in the corporation, they are static, but you have revealed that there have been a lot of changes, shifts. You know, so that what used to be like the fifth plane, the fifth level of life, where people thought that you could have some kind of complete realization of whatever they call it, God realization. It is not that. It is actually on the seventh level of life that you are actually out of the creation matrix. You see, all this one wouldn't have known without meeting you, without being in contact with with the knowledge you have put out there, and the new song, which is a big empowerment tool. Just imagine that we're stuck with the hue chant. Nothing would have changed for us, you know, and for many other people who are looking for an avenue out of this prison planet. You see, so it's in that light that I talk about your empowerment of people, and that the new presentation is, I think, by far the most empowering educational project in this world. In fact, because if you want to talk about secular education, it's just for this world. It's just to enable people to have their 9 to 5 job and earn a salary, and to be able to survive on this level. You see, you brought out the distinctions between this kind of secular education and real education, and then real freedom. And in fact, on a host of topics, you have really enlightened people, and you've made them to many more to step up. You see, it is in that way that I think the new presentation is the most empowering thing that I've come across. And every other person who was stuck maybe in the corporation, or was looking for a way out of this life level, how to attain real freedom, I think has got it now. So I don't know whether you with this clarification that I've made like that, you have something more to say about this.
Actually, that was excellent, Charles, how you said that. And so, really, sincerely, it was. And your voice and how you, presented this is very good. I suggest you go out and do some public lecturing. and let people know. Yes, very real. You're very good at it because you can articulate it in a particular way that can start people off. Basically, what I see is the overall, misunderstanding of what the world is experiencing is that the world has been it's so shoved in their face, so indoctrinated, so threatened, intimidated, blackmailed, and everything else into thinking that creation is reality, when in fact it's just a simulator. That's all it is. And so, yeah, that's really the overall biggie right there. Is that the understanding of what we're going through in creation, and a lot of people have guessed at this, or they have taken advantage of the ideas that, just like the reptilians created the God idea. So what they've done is they reinforce the idea that creation is reality and that you're to believe in gods in an invisible sense, but creation itself is reality. So, even this isn't really seen for what it is. And the same thing with the corporation and the Mahanta idea. Nobody knows what that is. They really don't. It's just an idea. So it's really an idea in creation. Again, when people really take the time to study creation for what it is and learn to see the difference, they will see that it is not the reality that they thought it is. It is a particular reality that is necessary to support the individual until they no longer need it. That's what it is. But it is not the idea of continually, growing old and passing on and then coming back and taking on more bodies. And many of the systems here look to that. And so just even the heavenly idea where you're going to a heaven, which is, I really see it as designated heavens because they're telling you where you're going to go. Well, you're in another body form. It's just bodies to bodies to bodies and not the awareness. So overall, the obstacle and the challenge to see more than creation, because creation is a simulator. And again, when we talk about life, well, life is like this, or life is like that, or this is life, and this is what we deal with. For the most part, because people can't see beyond creation or more than creation, they're referring to creation. So again, they're constantly being self-convinced by themselves and others that creation is reality, because you can feel it and sense it and all these things that we experience here, which is understandable, but they really only relate to the five bodies. And so it's been the education, hasn't it? It's been the education that's distorted things, and it's been people that are guessing at what life is or wanting to control others, so they take those guesses and they make it into something that seems substantial. And we have the systems today, how they are, the political, religion, spiritual, technology, education, all these things. We have these systems that seem to make sense, but none of them do, because again, they do not refer to anything else but the so-called life or reality of creation. And yes, it does have its own reality, but it is not the true reality. So again, I had to create, as I was writing this out and the books and whatever, I saw that I had to create a different reference to give people a hint at this. And so, yes, again, overall, people need to study what creation is and also what it isn't. And not just thinking that, oh, it's all this and we'll just create more technical stuff and it'll get better. It won't matter what's invented. It won't matter if you've got solar panels on your house and, oh, you're off the grid and you got free energy. Oh, whoopee-doo. That's not it either. That leads to where? You're still growing old. And going where? So it's taking the risk every moment to share the new you, etc. You got to prove yourself to life. Life sees all of us. You have to prove yourself every single moment by doing something that makes sense, or you don't. The birds flying around, they prove themselves. They know how to fly past all this nonsense that is being created here. It doesn't matter how it's rearranged. It's the same creation. So unless you can, create, unless you can utilize creation of a particular that refers to the isness, then it doesn't. And so for the most part, we just have to maintain ourselves. But that's really the big issue, Charles. And that's, if you're going to tell somebody something, that's really it. People thinking that creation is reality. Yes, there's a concern there. You have children, you have family, whatever. Not saying to negate anything. I'm just saying learn to see the difference, because you're only going to be in these bodies a short time and then you're not. But the personal self keeps thinking, well, it's just going to go on and on and on, because it has for lifetimes. So now it's in that routine unconsciously, and mainly unconsciously, thinking that, well, it doesn't matter if I grow old or die or whatever. I'll just get another body and I'll just keep going. Well, that's fine. But it still doesn't change creation. Creation is still what it is. It is a simulator. And this is what the educational system does not provide for people. And actually, they don't want to, because they want people to stay trapped in the body forms and to be manipulated. And again, it's choice, and people have the right to do that. They have the right to stay there and be trapped. But that's the biggie right there, Charles. The difference between creation and recognizing, which has nothing to do right or wrong, good or bad, truth or untruth, which is all in creation. It is recognizing the isness life is, that is all alive, etc., instead of the ideas that people create, thinking that those ideas are alive. And everything that's produced in this world is not alive at all, even though it comes from the so-called appearance of an alive environment. Guess what? It's not alive. All the products that we've created from it, people thinking that this is a world that's alive and moving and whatever. Well, we play the game, but only so far, and eventually just leave it behind, because this is what people want here. But to get that across, that's huge. Who will do that? Who will step up?
Okay, Duane, the all is not a God. You, you pointed that out clearly. But it is the totality of life, which is self-sufficient and self-subsisting. However, the majority of people approach the all is from a position of want, which is like saying, I know better than the whole of life and deserve more than what life is dishing out to me. So what do you say about this kind of attitude?
Those are always fun to deal with, aren't they? So I'd rather just go to the beach and forget it. But the idea here is that, my position, what I see and what I'm presenting is this. The all is, which I refer to as the true reality, is to be recognized. And what's interesting about the God idea and all these ideas that people have in creation about whatever, worship and prayer and God, the actuality of what is being presented and how it is being presented, it's like the old saying, God is a mystery. You see, the idea here is that no, these things are not to be recognized for what they are. Isn't it interesting? Just like the members of the corporation, they do not, these are the people that are supposed to be aware. Aware of what? The thing is that it is prompted that they are not to recognize what Harry and Joni are really doing. Do you see that? Yeah. And what I'm proposing is to recognize what's taking place with everything. And for the most part, this is where the the notices from their lawyers and the government comes in and says you're not to do that or whatever, because even though they market the idea of implied freedoms and all of these things and the words that they've put together with the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and all of this created nonsense, is supposed to mean something. Realistically, they do not want people to recognize what's really taking place. And so this is why even the so-called inner experiences of the corporation and many others are shunned. Oh, you're not supposed to say that or whatever. Or that's a cop-out. Harry even said it. It's like when you're sharing your inner experiences with others, it's a cop-out. Well, you take the risk. And I take the risk. And even when Sandy stepped up and she left this notice in an email or whatever about her dream experience, I took the risk. I created an image with Ava and I put it out there. And, I just stand up and I figure, I'll take it if I'm hated because of this or whatever. It's fine. I don't care. I see that people only have so much time and I'm the risk taker. Besides, I like to bother people. It's just my nature, I guess. So we'll just say it's that. But and I get my finger shaken at me by the boys sometimes, etc. And it's fine, and I figure it out. But really, that's really what the world's about. My position is to be as honorable as I can, and it's like the old saying: the truth really hurts, doesn't it? Well, it's not about truth. This is what I like. This is what I've recognized. It's not about these things, and everybody has their own truth, and I respect that. It's fine, but I have the right to say what I do too, and it's all about recognition. This is what is so cool about it. For the first time through all this nonsense, people can understand that they have the opportunity to recognize what's going on. It's not about what they think or believe or want or don't want or fear. It's not about any of that. That's the system they're in already, because the system does not want them to recognize what's going on. The God idea. If people were to truly recognize the Callum lizard reptilian God, I don't think they'd be down on their knees praying to this beast, this conqueror. But, that's their choice because, see, they really don't want to know. They've been indoctrinated not to know and not to recognize. So the idea is that, the world controllers played off the idea because they take statistics. And so the idea of being fearful and all these other things of God, it implies, so people have adopted those ideas to where they seem to make sense, and that becomes their lifestyle, to not recognize anything at all except what they're told to see and do. So, from all that, once you start to figure that out, you have that individual will to decide whatever you want. That's all. So what am I really presenting here? An adventure that's another option. That's really all it is. I started off with just simply sharing my experiences and what I saw. That's it. No doctrines involved. And then to eventually see what's going on, that's the wake up idea, wake up or not. And so that's misunderstood too. People think, well, gee, I'm awake. Well, you are in this world, but not awake to the true reality, because that's very fine-tuned for what it is. You have to see for what it is and not as what is considered it to be. There's no such thing as that. Whatever you consider it to be, that's not it. I've said this many times. And so to be able to figure out how to stand real with this reality and support it as it supports you, that's huge for people to do that, because they have to deal with everything they've dealt with so far. So yes, in a nutshell, young man, you look at the world, and what is promoted is to not recognize what's taking place in creation, in the sense that what is being presented here is to recognize all of creation, ourselves, and the true reality. It's all about recognizing what is real now.
Yeah, Duane, and it is because of this that most people they go ball in hand, begging through life, uh, whereas they would have, whereas if they had the real information, they wouldn't they wouldn't they wouldn't be in a beggarly position in their lives. You know, it is because of this uh, distortions that you've pointed out that have caused people to. You find many will come to the new presentation with this attitude of want, misery, deprivation, and all what you can imagine. See, and they seem to think that life has dealt them a very bad blow, and they're looking for ways. They will petition the new man, petition the real guides to lift them out of of whatever circumstances they find themselves in. You know, meanwhile, if things were presented in the right way, they would know better, and they will act accordingly.